Hi, Kavishka. How are you?
Fine, and you?
I'm great, thanks. It's really my pleasure to have this interview with you. So I'm just going to get down straight to the questions here. I wanted to know from you, how did you, what inspired you to actually get into modeling?
Well, it's actually been a lifelong dream, believe it or not. So it was actually a hidden dream. So there was me as a teenager, always like being heavily influenced by Tyra Banks, like quite literally. Like I
Okay.
would remember have fond memories of like rushing for the TV like after school in like high school years. So we're talking like from the age of like 15 and until like forever. Though I've done many other things in my career and stuff like that, modeling and like just being surrounded by beauty and modeling, supermodels, just always having this inquiring mind, wanting to know what are their beauty secrets, what do they do, how do they conduct themselves, what is their lifestyle like, just always being so intrigued by a supermodel's lifestyle and always sort of having this mindset of abroad and overseas. Like I've never been limited in my in my ability to sort of dream big and wanting to achieve and stuff like that. So heavily influenced by the Tyra Banks show, um, following, cutting out and keeping clippings of women in the industry who are actresses turned models and vice versa. A lot of Bollywood influence as well, with like your Aishwarya Rai, your Sushmita Sen, your Priyanka
Mm.
Chopra, all these like big time winners. They all have played a role in my in this like thirst and this hunger for wanting to be being curious, wanting to be in the industry kind of a thing. So it started off very, very early on. And yeah, I actually got discovered 2 years ago
Wow.
from TikTok by an
Mm.
agency. And I think that for me was a pinnacle moment. It was a turning point because there I was. I'm a makeup artist by profession as well.
Mm.
So there I was producing a lot of my own content, doing a lot of live streams via TikTok, um, and shooting my own sort of like editorial photos of the finished look. A lot of special effects looks, a lot of curated looks, whatever would inspire me at the moment, or bridal looks, whatever. Basically, just letting that creative energy flow and basically using that platform to its fullest, which is to showcase your skill set, especially if you're a creative. And then, literally, one day, I was actually befriended by another lady who was actually a talent scout for the modeling agency, and she was a model herself. And then she asked me if she can speak to me, and so we spoke. And I really gave it a lot of thought. And of course, I thought to myself, okay. And then she was like, you know what? I'd get you in touch with the director of the modeling agency, and you can speak to her, whatever questions you may have on how it's going to work. And yeah, they basically invited me to join the agency and complete an basically a professional finishing course, like your professional etiquette training. And of course, it was literally like a dream come true, ramp modeling skills and things like that to basically prepare you for the real world for any sort of high fashion show or any sort of show for that matter, and really get your modeling career like off the ground. So yeah, that was the start basically. And
Okay.
I got in touch with the owner of the agency. She spoke to me, and
Hmm.
the main thing for me that I felt like, wow, this is finally the beginning of a dream career being birthed. I was like, hey, first of all, with work and stuff, it's like really challenging. So would you be able to give me back-to-back lessons? Because I won't be able to attend every single week because the agency is in Pietermaritzburg and I'm from Durban North. So with work commitments and um, distance as well. I had to like adequately prepare myself for such an opportunity. And obviously
Mm.
the fees and everything like that, the cost fees to be trained. Because like I said, it's not like you're automatically with the agency. You gotta get the training and stuff first before you like deemed qualified. So the number one question that was on my mind was number one, because like I said, being heavily influenced from a young age with Tyra Banks and international modeling and standards, much like standards here in South Africa as well. because everything comes from overseas, and then sort of like every other third world country follows suit in what is like considered the acceptable norm or the acceptable beauty standard when it comes to like physical. It's a very fickle industry, so we've got to like really get to the bottom of, is this really for me, kind of a thing. As much as I'm someone, like everybody can say, hey, I'd love to build a house, but can you really do it? Like, do you have the necessary skills? Do you have the necessary strength and stamina to be able to do something like this? We all can say we want to be an astronaut, but are we really equipped? Did we get our straight A's in physics and maths to be able to do something like that? So the two questions that I had was like, hey, I spoke to her and I was like, do you really think I have what it takes to really make it in this industry? Because to her surprise, to the director's surprise, she was actually very fascinated that I was somebody that wasn't just wanting to do it for self-confidence and for posture and stuff like that. I was actually somebody who's like been bubbling underneath the surface within every sort of inch of my being to like really want to do this and turn it into a career. And so she was really thrilled, and we like hit it off, and she was like, no, you genuinely do have a place in this industry. Industry has changed a lot, so have the standards for beauty, and especially size. So because I've always had the height and the looks, I've never always been like your stereotypical size 0, which is your stereotypical European beauty standards when it comes to high fashion modeling. So my two biggest questions to her was, am I not too old for this? Because I know, you'd normally get scouted. You'd normally get scouted when you're in your teens, and I never had the opportunity to be scouted at that time in my life, and it's happening to me now. Because I'm the type of person, I wouldn't want to get into something and there's no long-term benefits for me. And I'm somebody who always thinks ahead, and I wouldn't want to do something that is so personal to me, that wouldn't like benefit me in the long run. So she actually cleared that up for me, and yeah, the rest was history. And then I started, and the rest was history when it comes to the training. So it's all been very like within the last 2 years. It's been like a really lengthy journey and journey of discovery as well. So yeah.
Yeah, okay, when did your first break happen? Like, I know you spoke quite a lot on the first question, so I don't know if you might have covered it in that second question that I just asked you now. When did your first break happen?
So I don't really consider that my first break, but I will consider my first break this year. So earlier this year, like I said, still continuing to complete my formal training and catwalk training with the agency in Johannesburg. I was actually scouted once again by another events company, a pageantry and events company that specializes in pageantry and events for the Eastern market. So it was like a local, small scale local events company that was running sort of auditions for candidates from Joburg and Durban for an Eastern wear cultural pageant, like an actual beauty pageant. And that was like, it was like a shocker, because I wasn't seeking for something like that, though I am a very multifaceted person. Like, I am both involved in Western and Eastern sort of trends when it comes to fashion and beauty. I was taken aback, and I wasn't quite sure whether I want to get into something like this. And so, because like I said, I was still part of formal training with the agency and a whole lot of other things on my list. And there were deadlines. There was a lot of deadlines to meet, and the dates were like really close. And then so I decided to give it a go. And I was like, all right, I accept the offer and I want to actually give it a go. I want to be involved. So I'm accepting that back in March, April this year, I was involved in this Eastern Wear pageant. So it wasn't actually a big break, but it was sort of the recognition was starting to build up, because it wasn't like an actual paid modeling gig, if you will, because that's what I consider a big break. For me, a big break in modeling is like your first paid modeling job. So that hasn't happened. Then the third time, while that was happening as well, I started to get like overlapping now of opportunities. The third thing was being invited to participate in like an editorial competition, a national competition, which I then came out fourth in. So
Wow.
this was another modeling agency here in Durban. And so I had entered that, and it's like a stereotypical, vote for your favorite model kind of thing. So I was sort of hunting and promoting that on all social media platforms just to see like where I stood and where the public deemed me. Like I said, it's very incredibly stressful, and it's really, 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 it's a very superficial industry. So you really gotta,
Mm.
as much as I, as a person, I am very much of a deep thinker, and there's so much more to the surface than meets the eye. But in this
Mm.
industry, it's very superficial as well. So you really got to
Mm.
pay a lot of attention to your physical as well. Um, so I actually came out fourth. I didn't come out in the top three, but I came out fourth nationally. It was the Unis on Model Search. So that was like, it was bittersweet because I didn't come out in the top three, but it also showed me, like, I'm on the right track, I'm on the right path. I shouldn't feel discouraged, even when I have my
Mm.
low days, my low self-esteem days, that you know what, there is actually scope for me. There is a place in the market for me. And yeah, so those are like the two highlights for this year alone. So no actual big break just yet, but should be around the corner anytime now.
Okay. Yeah, I was just gonna get to the high moments. Like, what have been like so far in your modeling journey, the high moments?
High moments. Well, I think for me personally, the highest moment was my last modeling graduation.
Okay.
So that was this year as well, back in March. Like I said, with the agency, when you completing your formal training with them, at the
Okay.
end of each semester, if you will, there
Mm-hmm.
is a simulated fashion show event that is curated for the students to sort of walk the ramp. It's all done up in like your moving lights, your moving headlights, like your big show your stereotypical, like, there ain't no business like show business. It's like your stereotypical, like what you see on television, kind of simulated platform via the agency to like really boost you and get you out there. And also it's a really useful tool that the agency uses as well. Once everyone in the class has been formally trained, it's also a useful tool for them as well to see like who's really doing this for wanting to make a career out of it, and who's really doing it just to boost their confidence that they're not really gonna pursue this as time goes on. So I think it benefits us as the students as well as the agency to like really see now and hone in on who are our future prospective models that's like really going to represent our agency and have our banner in like high esteem. And naturally, I was one of them who who really like came up on top. It's like wasn't like ranked like, hey, who's the best in the class and like you get like sashed and crowned. No, it was like you would know when your trainer would be like, hey, for the show, backstage training, you know what, I want these many people right at the front of the class to open the show, and I want these many people to close the show, and then you get your showstoppers and all of that. So with me, my last, and we would get this every term. So this was my second like semester in it. And there's another challenge as well, which personally I love. The other challenge is you gotta like curate your own outfit and follow a set theme or a standard that's been set. So that's sort of like forces students to get used and get accustomed to complying with potential designers and potential sort of brand leaders of, hey, you're going to fit the mold. We want you to be like attired in this sort of way with this theme, with this sort of like look, and this is how we want you to be. And so that's like the purpose of having themes for these simulated fashion shows that we have at the end of every semester. So that was my highest point. I'll tell you why. Because I went as I actually chose, it was sort of like it was streetwear. So the theme was streetwear luxe. So it was streetwear luxe, but with a neutral color palette. So like your olives, your stone gray, your nude beige, your like, very like, street luxe, your cargo pants, your sports jackets, your stereotypical streetwear style, casual, but at the same time high fashion. So it's quite challenging. And you would get graded on that because you would get your diploma and stuff after that, and you would get marked on it. So I went full SFX. I did, as being makeup artist, like I said, I went full SFX with my makeup. I did a camouflage look. I would give you these photos as well if you'd want to upload it. There's so you get like photographed and everything. You have experts in the fashion and beauty industry that actually are seated on the judging panel from both Pietermaritzburg and KZN for this simulated fashion show. So it's quite a big deal. And yeah, so the highest moment would be when the crowd engagement. People in the audience don't know me at all, like on a personal level, actually cheering me on, screaming, cheering me on. Such an elated feeling. Those moments make me feel most alive, and I felt like, hey, being on stage is where I belong. It really boosts and motivates you to like know, like, hey, you are really cut out for this kind of a thing. So my highest moment was that, like, really getting such a warm reception from the crowd, from the public when I'm on stage. And mind you, for a simulated sort of show and not yet for a major show. So that was like the highest point because I cannot describe how I felt in that moment. It was like so unreal.
Okay, what has been the lowest moment for you thus far?
Lowest moment. Okay, so lowest moment would be the waiting game. Lowest moment, it has been throughout the course of this year. Not very productive in terms
Okay.
of attaining, not very productive in terms of attaining any paid contracts. Like I said, though I am also independently available to accept collaborative work, PR work, and things like that. There hasn't been any sort of response from any major brands or even small businesses because I have reached out personally. I don't always just wait for brands to approach me. So I'm very proactive in networking with people, trying to assist them as well in promoting their brand and sort of getting the best image out for their brand because I do a lot of that as well. And it hasn't been very productive. So I think that would be like my lowest point. So I'm at that level now where it's like, you got to keep pushing pedal to the metal. And it's a waiting game basically, because sometimes in life, when we think we are, when we, when we are in expectation of an outcome, oftentimes it's when you least expect it that when you will have like that opportunity arise. It's not always when you feel ready. That's why it's so important to be ready at all times for anything. So yeah, that would be the low. The low would be that the way you get as of this year, not being booked.
Okay.
That's the low.
Okay. Who have been the people that you've looked up to personally and in the modeling industry? Like who have in general, like who are the people that you've looked up to?
So it's been a bit of both, internationally and locally as well. So I'll start with locally, no place like home. So locally, has been Shashi Naidu locally.
Okay.
Because she is a woman of color, who was not your stereotypical standard of beauty, like I said, with your European sort of European-centric beauty standards in terms of modeling. So, as in the early 2000s and in the mid 2000s, seeing her rise and seeing how far she's gotten in the industry, being a woman of color, someone I could relate to. She was literally on my vision board, right up there with your with um, international celebrities and models. I would say in recent years would be Ashley Graham because she is very like personally I can relate to her because now we are dealing with not a woman of color. She is a Caucasian woman, but she is falling in a category that I'm finding myself in now because now I'm discovered for being a model. But at the same time, I never imagined I'd be a model. I'll be very honest, I never imagined I'd be a model that would be included in high fashion modeling because, like I said, beauty standards and size standards. So you are considered a mid-sized, curvier woman when you are not like your stereotypical size 0, which is your size petite, 32, size 28, things like that. So once you are like past size 34 and you're like between 36, 38, which is me, it's actually a really different ball game because you get treated differently, you get approached differently. And though the market globally has sort of shifted and been more inclusive for women of more realistic body sizes and body sort of image. Ashley Graham, when I first discovered her work ethic and her journey over the last decade, which was very recently, I started to include her in my vision board because I won't lie, prior to that, I wasn't familiar. I had these women such as Shashi Naidu locally, but how relatable was she to me? Because she's actually fitting that standard, the size requirement. She's fitting your stereotypical European-centric standards. But who's actually really relatable to me? Because I'm so unique as a person, as an individual, that I can relate to these stereotypical Eurocentric models in the industry, both nationally and internationally, as well as the curvier ones, because then that's when it differs for me because of my personal dynamic and my bodily makeup. So it was definitely Shashi Naidu, definitely Nicole Scherzinger. I saved the best for last. Throughout my teens and watching and learning around Tyra Banks' show and things like that, was definitely Tyra Banks, Nicole Scherzinger, because, like I said, being someone of color in the international industry who was a pop star, she influenced me. She was like really heavily influenced me because at that time, being a teenager at 16 years old, she was the person I could most relate to in terms of her overall aesthetic, her overall look, and then obviously Jennifer Lopez. So definitely Jennifer
Okay.
Lopez, Nicole Scherzinger, Shashi Naidu, and then of course Ashley Graham for really boosting like body standard, um, body standard confidence and being like, hey, being a curvier model, you can really make it in this industry, but you would have really got to do the inner work kind of a thing. So quite a mixture of diverse women, but definitely those four women.
Okay, finally, what are your words of inspiration for the upcoming models?
Words of inspiration for upcoming models. So quite a humbling experience on my journey, like should I say my rise from the last 2 years. I literally up till today, should I be anywhere, even in the supermarket, I legit get stopped by teenagers who actually tell me, like I'll be in the middle of something, and sometimes they're reluctant to approach, but I literally get stopped by strangers telling me like, hey, I love your outfit, or I want to be like you when I grow up, or just little things like that. So even when I'm streaming and I am conducting like my on my own platform, when I am conducting motivational talk, or when I'm doing like a beauty makeup tutorial or a skincare tutorial, I get like random strangers who tell me like, "Hey, I want to be like you," or "You are my role model and you inspire me." That's like so humbling and so gratifying because I never would have imagined. Because I personally don't consider myself as high up as Nicole Scherzinger, as high up as Shashi Naidu, as high up as any of these amazing women in the industry. But at the same time, having this much uh, influence, having this much power to influence at this stage of my career, it's also an indication that I'm in the right direction and I'm heading people in the right direction because it takes a lot to be in this industry. Like I said, being a woman of color, being a woman who does not fit into the stereotypical Eurocentric mold of modeling. So my words of wisdom would definitely be a positive mind finds opportunity in everything. Because if you do not see the world as your oyster, how will you have these magical, unreal, stereotypical opportunities that one could only ever dream of, that you only see in these movies and stuff like that? You only see it like in the storyline of a novel or a movie. These things don't just happen by chance. You've really gotta view the world with a fresh pair of eyes for yourself, should you really want to be in this industry. So positive mind finds opportunity in everything. Secondly, um, self-love. I know it's like so cliche, like, hey, drink your 8 glasses of water, which is also very important for anybody out there who's an aspiring model. Water is very important, so drink your water. But like really, 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 really love yourself. It doesn't matter if you get 10,000 naysayers or you get picked on, or if you yourself are a realist like me and you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, hey, my nose is not perfect today, or my leg is not looking like perfect today, or my tummy is not flat today. It doesn't matter because you gotta believe in you. Even when you don't have a lot of people cheering you, I'm speaking from experience, you don't even have like this mega support structure that you would like to have or that you stereotypically see in movies or in stories of other models, sometimes you gotta be your own one in a million. You gotta be looking at yourself from a third person, bird's eye view, and being like, hey, I'm it. I'm this person. I am the woman of my dreams. I am the guy of my dreams. I am that top notch, next in line, representative for whatever it is you want to do, whether want to be in modeling or a singer or a creative. Because I also am associated with a lot of people in the music industry as well. And yeah, if you don't fully believe that other people are going to enjoy what you bring to the table, then you are never, guess what? You're not going to get that treatment back, because the world is literally a proverbial mirror. We mirror opportunities, um, we mirror the affection, the adoration, and the love, and everything, all the good things that we want for ourselves. It really stems from you, and it really got to start with you. So love yourself to the fullest. Love the ugly side of yourself, the beautiful side of yourself. Love every stretch mark, every imperfection, every angle. Like we all have our good angle when we're taking a photo or we at a function and we're like, hey, no, get my good side. Like love even that side that no one sees behind closed doors. It's like, and I say love that side of you, I mean like love that side of you as well, like literally and figuratively, because that's like literally the only way. Because think about it, like if I didn't feel that way about myself, I wouldn't be getting these opportunities just coming to me. Because viewing the world as my oyster and have a very broad and open mindset. Don't ever feel like there's no opportunity for you or that opportunities are limited because of X, Y, and Z factors. No, everything is available all of the time, and there's way more to go around for everybody on this planet. So just always view the world as your oyster, love yourself, and always just have this broad mindset. Think outside the box, be very broad minded, and then it'll take you places.
Thanks so much for giving me your time, Kavishka.
Paolo, thank you for having me on your channel.